You brought up a good point before the show. I believe we've seen 4 of 41 pages of a PowerPoint. Yeah. Does Washington presume they will see more leaks?
Well, I think I don't know what official Washington is thinking on this because there's such a close hold on this. But I would suspect that, at least as a reporter, I expect to see more leaks just when you see how tertiary Snowden really was to a lot of this intelligence gathering. You know, with the massive explosion of the NSA and with just so much money, of course, the budget is black. We don't know how much money is spent on intelligence gathering, but so many more people have access to this information. Yes, he was a former CIA employee, but essentially this was a contractor for Booz Allen. There are dozens, hundreds, thousands of contractors out there. I would suspect more people, depending on how the public comes down on him and law enforcement comes down on Snowden, I would expect that more people who are uncomfortable about some of the things they may see may decide to leak based on his actions.
Hans, does the debate center on political lines? I was quite taken by the senator from Kentucky's comments this weekend. Is this about red state, blue state, or is it a different debate in Washington?
You'll see some of the partisanship shifting down where along those lines, but I think more importantly, you'll see sort of the circular aspect of America's ideology, and that is that the libertarians, those on the sort of far right of their party, and sort of the far left of the Democratic Party, they'll come together and they'll be protecting the flank of folks like Snowden and, as I mentioned, potential other leakers who are making a public interest argument. They're actually, it's quite remarkable what they're saying. They're calling themselves patriots, essentially. Even though they're going against their government at the time.
Richard Falkenrath, 6 blocks up, as I look out on 3rd Avenue here at our world headquarters, is presumably where Nathan Hale was hung in 1776. There's a big plaque on a wall by a Banana Republic. Okay, that's the emotion that you see in New York. You see plaques about intelligence and failures of intelligence. How did a kid with a high school degree, who I think he started out as a security guy, like checking badges, I'm presuming. How did he end up with this kind of knowledge?
Well, he ended up getting a job at a contractor who was on the inside supporting the NSA, and he submitted himself to a background check. The background check is fairly rudimentary, and it cannot read your mind. It can see if you have a criminal record, or if you've got your debts, you've got too high of debts, or if you have an alcohol problem or a drug problem, but they can't figure out if you are, in fact, a libertarian activist who wants to change the world by releasing the government's secrets.
How is it that this hasn't happened before, something of this magnitude?
A great question. Yeah.
In terms of the leak?
Yeah, I mean, this is one kid, but, you know, one's got to presume that there are many, many more.
Well, there have been a couple. They're all a little bit different. This one's particularly damaging because it's an ongoing program, and it will be damaging for the companies. But there was WikiLeaks, Bradley Manning, who was in the Army. He's now going to spend the rest of his life in jail. In 2005, James Risen had major revelations about a predecessor to this program that was being done without the benefit of statutory authorization. So
that brings us to another question. Why are we outsourcing so much of this? Why do we have so many contractors? Why aren't these internal people if we're worried about these kinds of leaks?
It's the way that national security state has evolved. So the national security state can't do everything organically, and hiring the people directly, like for police and firemen, is very expensive. You have to give them lifetime benefits, a lot of other things. So it's easier when you need to surge up a program to hire contractors who are properly cleared and have greater surge capacity than does the government agency.
Hans, what will be the response of the White House? The team has to come back from California. They hunker down. What will be their to-do list this Monday morning?
Well, they're going to make official Jason Furman to be the president's next top economist. We reported this a couple of weeks ago. On the investigation and on the leak aspect, the White House, I suspect, will put pretty much every question over to the Department of Justice. It's the Department of Justice that is in, as we learned over the weekends, the preliminary stages of an investigation into Snowden. So, and once an investigation is ongoing, we don't get a whole lot of updates. Now, we may hear from the president in the context of this. He may decide to come out and, like he did on Friday, and talk about the need for a public debate on this. You know, listening to the president wants this debate. He wants to talk about it. Now that it's out in the open, he seems ready to have this privacy security debate.